As we arrive at this point at the beginning of the Kansas City Chiefs offseason, it's kind of an uncomfortable place to be in because we're looking back now on a bunch of the problems from this last season that we talked about at the time. And frankly, it's just not as much fun as, say, looking back on Super Bowl championships or even the little things in long playoff runs that just failed you right near the end. Frankly, Seth, I'm looking for anything else to talk about.
Well, you know what? You're in luck because right now I've got in front of me my scripture memorization list, and I have made my way to Ephesians 5:25. So we can.
Oh, okay.
No, you know what? I
Let's
think
do
I'd
that.
actually rather talk about the Chiefs missing the playoffs. That does seem preferable. Thank you, Seth. Weird Games, Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor with you here for this Thursday edition of the show. We will spend some real time talking about the Chiefs coaching staff moves, a couple that have been reported and a couple that seem to be kind of hanging in the air. And then we'll really dig in the bulk of today's show about what went wrong on the offensive side of the ball. Seth's writing about this over in the Chief of the North newsletter in terms of the great frustrations of the 2025 season and what you can do going into next year. So we'll get into that as kind of the main portion of today's show. But first, we're going to have to just kind of hit this pretty briefly at the top here because as I've looked at the comment section and obviously across Chiefs social media, there have been allegations towards wide receiver Rashid Rice that we have all seen the post of and that we all have very little further information on. The Chiefs and the league have both issued quick little brief statements on that front. But Nate, I'll kind of let you share wherever your head is at as the actual journalist and reporter of the group here. But we often end up in conversations like this one without having all of the information. Right now, we have even less than we've had in some of those other cases. So just kind of at the top, I hope that most people who have been around this show for a long time know that we will talk about the serious off-field things when that is required. Right now, I think we're all kind of on the same page that there's not quite enough to dig into in full today, even as we have a lawyer and a beat reporter, getting the show moving. Anything that you want to touch on that, Nate, regarding the very limited number of things we've heard about Rashid Rice so far?
Yeah, the NFL is aware of this, and they've already acknowledged that they're going to look into it. We don't know the level of intensity, I guess, when it comes to the NFL. They think this is under the personal conduct policy umbrella. So, for Rashid, he's already a one-time offender of the NFL's personal conduct policy. We all know that's why he had the 6-game suspension to start this season. In the aftermath of the crash on Easter weekend of 2024, with the high-speed multiple car crash accident in North Dallas. I have done as much reporting as I can on this earlier today. I do have some interesting details that we're trying to confirm, so I can't necessarily share them here. But we're working on it. It's if you haven't seen the woman's Instagram post, it is awful. It's tragic when you realize there are 2 children involved. I'm pretty sure I said that this morning on 96.5 The Fan. Now, we have to acknowledge that the woman does not name Rashid Rice specifically in the Instagram post, and it's quite clear who she's talking about. So, I know there's been rumors that have, come out today. If you haven't heard yet, I'm just going to read a few things now because that probably makes the most sense. The Chiefs at some point last night came up with a statement that says the club is aware of the allegations on social media and is in communication with the National Football League. We have no further comment at this time. That still remains the case as of today. So we are almost 24 hours, I think, since that statement was released by the Chiefs. The NFL, as I said earlier, has acknowledged this as well, and they're looking into it. The woman who is, presenting these allegations through her Instagram account, I don't think she's spoken to anyone. She has not said anything since the Instagram post. As of I want to say, well, I'm gonna have to call you guys back.
Okay.
There's multiple things going on in the phone, but I'll try my best. It's hilarious. Again, we're reporting. There's more things. I might have to get on the phone here momentarily. We don't know everything. I don't know what led to this decision. I think it's going to be fascinating if we find that information out. The woman says that she's been under this level of domestic violence for the span of 8 years, which really jumped out to me. There's multiple photos of her, of damage to her body in multiple areas of her body.
Different injuries at different time periods.
Yes, that is the way it is presented, we believe, or the way that's being portrayed as of right now. She has not filed a police report of domestic violence in Overland Park, Kansas, or in Dallas. And those are the two places she mentioned in the post as well. We have not gotten any public comments from Rashid Rice. There's not been any statements from, let's say, like attorneys or people who could represent either party in all of this. So it's horrible. The images are disturbing, and when you understand that these two people have two children involved, and as I said on the radio this morning, it makes it very tragic. So we'll do the best we can to present accurate reporting to you. That's the best I have right now. I've reached out to a number of people today, and we'll just see where this goes moving forward. I don't know if there's really anything to say from a football standpoint.
I don't think there is, honestly. Like, I feel I'm pretty comfortable just kind of leaving it there because, look, we do this show twice a week, and we have the two of you who have covered a lot of things in this vein.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've got right now. So just I wanted to acknowledge that at the top that we are aware of it, and we're not just scanning through a bunch of comments going, what are they talking about in here? But that we'll just we'll revisit it as more information becomes available, which now makes for a clunky segue, but go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could say more.
I don't think you should.
I know that's where I'm
sharing my opinion.
I know. And you're doing it obviously as a loving friend, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's just, it's on appearance, it looks bad, and we just don't have all the answers. So there is a chance that we could find more things out in the coming days. I know we have an episode our episode will be next Tuesday. I'm not sure if we'll have more information on Tuesday, but there's obviously a possibility of that. And, it's the amount of comments on the post. You should, I think the last thing I'll say is if you haven't seen the Instagram post, you should look at it. You should take some time with it so that you can be at least as informed as we are now. Seth, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this from a legal standpoint, but I think people should be aware of the information that's out as of now.
I think because of what I do, I think people tend to add a certain amount of weight to what I say when it comes to legal stuff.
That's true.
Because right now what we're talking about is an Instagram post, and this isn't me making a statement one way or the other on the veracity or accuracy or credibility of anything. I'd like to kind of see if anything else comes out. The only thing, so I don't really want to say anything because people tend to take what I say a little more seriously and stuff like this. I will just, the thing I'll say as a life thing, not a lawyer thing, when you're someone that doesn't get the benefit of a doubt, sometimes that means you don't get the benefit of a doubt.
Which is understandable.
And that's that you can choose your sin, you can't choose the consequences. And one of the consequences of things that Rashid Rice has done previously is that he's lost a fairly significant benefit of a doubt. That's probably more than I really should have said. So there you go.
Well, now I get to be the host that segues us into the next topic, which is, really, it felt better to mention it at the top. So forgive the clunkiness of it all, but it feels impossible to not reference it, and would have been miserable to say. And at the very end of the show, we'll close with thoughts on this thing that is serious and still has some details to settle in. So let's go to the football of it all now. Again, segue clunkiness, well and acknowledged. We've gotten some news in the last couple of days on the Chiefs coaching staff front. I don't think Mike McDaniel had been fired the last time we talked, which isn't, I'm not saying that because I think he's a high-level offensive coordinator candidate for the Chiefs. I'm just sort of thinking about all of the dominoes that have fallen and continue to fall over these last couple of days. We'll go ahead and slide us into the two-shot here, if you would, actually, Tucker, as Nate will recuse himself briefly. Seth, I will not ask you to give us the reporting on what's going on with the Chiefs coaching staff, as unfortunate timing on that front. We talked a little bit about the offensive coordinator options yesterday, or excuse me, on Tuesday's show.
Yeah.
But now we do have the report that the Chiefs are moving on from Connor Embry, the wide receivers coach we've talked about a number of times. And there was a defensive quality control assistant. And again, I think it was Rappaport that said that more moves were to be expected. I think might have been the phrasing. I'm paraphrasing there. Don't aggregate that either. But that we do have the Connor Embry report as being kind of the main next domino to fall. Before even kind of the speculation on what it means for Matt Nagy or other position coaches who have been talked about quite a bit these last couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the wide receiver position in a very more granular sense here in a little bit, as stuff that frustrated you this season. But if you were to look at what the receiver position has been over these last 2 or 3 years with the Chiefs, knowing that they are making a change now at the wide receiver coach position, what do you make of that decision to move on from Connor Embry? None of us are in those rooms, but I imagine you've watched a lot from those receivers over these last few years.
Right. And one thing, I was kind of the person telling people to slow their roll on blaming Connor Embry for everything when receivers weren't developing and that kind of stuff. And I understand why it was natural because of his lack of a resume. I get that. And obviously Andy Reid agrees. And when you look at the wide receivers year after year, it definitely matters. I think this year, if you really have the death knell, and since we've talked about the personal stuff and pretty rough stuff, I think we'll just talk about Rice in terms of football development.
What we saw in 2025, sure.
Yep. When you look at Rashid Rice in 2025, he didn't look like he continued the development that he'd started to show in 2024. When you look at Xavier Worthy in 2025, he didn't look like he continued on the development that he'd shown in 2024. Now, some of that is usage stuff. I've got some real problems with that. But I think when you repeatedly have small time errors that continue to stack up, the position coach is going to eventually take the blame. And the head coach should take blame for this too, by the way. Like Andy Reid, having to clean some house or maybe a lot of house on your offensive coaching staff isn't it's an indictment on decisions that you've made because you chose to hire these people. And so I would just say that Xavier Worthy might be the best example of why they had to move on. Because when you go look at Xavier Worthy's college film, where Sark always has his guys, they have them running a full route tree. They absolutely do. Watch his college routes, watch his pro routes. And you're just not going to see a lot of development there. And I don't like the way Andy Reid, that's one of the things I'm going to be writing about, that we're going to talk about, frustrations and stuff. I don't like the way Worthy was utilized, but I also don't think that he really improved in some really crucial areas. And that's where that's where you just have to move on eventually. If players at a certain position aren't developing, and it's pretty consistent in Kansas City, maybe it's a talent issue. But I think when you look at Xavier Worthy's college film, and then you look at the trajectory Rice seemed like he was on. Now, again, maybe Rice and Worthy, maybe they weren't practicing hard enough. There's a million factors here, but it's your job as a position coach to get the most out of them, just like it's your job as a head coach to get the most out of them. So ultimately, the buck does stop with you, even if the player is a problem too. You're supposed to maximize, and I just don't think that you would. I don't think that anyone could argue that the Chiefs have really maximized the wide receiver talent that they've had, particularly in 2025, when they did have considerably more talent in the room than they did in 2024 and 2023.
They invested in the position in a way that, as you said, there were years where it was Travis Kelce and then cobbling together around him. That wasn't the case here. I just wanted to get the phrasing right on the Rappaport tweet. He said the Chiefs are moving on from wide receivers coach Connor Embry. Source said there may be other changes to Andy Reid's staff, but this talented group will have a new coach in 2026. So I go ahead.
I do just wonder, and I'm sorry to cut you off there. Just one thing that's interesting as we segue, that the framing of that there may be other changes. Generally speaking, my understanding of the way Andy Reid works, where if people's jobs were safe, there would be there would be nothing resembling leaks. It would be like, no, everyone's else safe. Like, he would make that clear. My assumption is that means there's more to come.
Well, I think we've got Nate coming back here in just a second as well. So I want to mention something that I think, boy, I hope I credit him fairly most of the time. I think it was something that Matt Derrick mentioned on 41 is the Mic. I was listening to their episode last week. And Matt, I think, pretty sure, Matt called back to things Andy Reid said after the Super Bowl, which was to say that, we had some things that weren't good enough here, and there has to be some accountability for the mistakes that were made or for the preparation issues or whatever it would be. And for the record, I don't think that was specifically about Connor Embry. I don't think Connor Embry cost the Chiefs the Super Bowl, to be clear. But what Matt's point was, hey, if you go out and you say there's going to be accountability if we don't get this fixed, and then this year happens and those things don't get fixed, there have to be changes. We expect huge changes on the roster every year, but it's harder to point that out on the coaching staff because there's not all 22 for the coaches in their meetings, and we don't know where all of the power lies and all of that stuff. But I thought that was a really interesting way of kind of framing that from Matt, where you can talk all the time about cleaning things up and being a little bit better here or there, but when you do go through that, not quite fair to say, but you go through almost kind of that run it back mentality of, okay, well, this ended poorly last year, but we believe in our nucleus. If that doesn't reflect positive changes after another season, you have to make changes. And again, we know the Chiefs have made at least this one. Nate, on that front, we kind of talked about the Embry news in general. We've seen a lot of smoke about Matt Nagy. We know that his contract was up at the end of this year. And he's got a lot of head coaching interviews lined up. What do you make of the idea there from the Rappaport tweet of maybe other changes? What do you know in terms of where the wind's blowing, so to speak?
Yeah. Decisions are starting to be made. This was likely going to be the case as we get late into the week. So, more decisions could be made tomorrow. I think Matt, I'm glad that you referenced Matt Derrick because I believe I was there with him along with some of the other guys when Andy Reid made those comments at the Combine. I believe is the case. Right. It was his first real okay, we lost in the Super Bowl. I've gotten whatever it was 10 days at the time to rewatch the game, to sit, to reflect on the whole season. Andy, that was probably as close as Andy came in the offseason of saying, hey, things within my own coaching staff have to get better. So I think I heard a little bit of what Seth said about the lack of development when it comes to Rashid Rice and to Xavier Worthy on the field. I also think, I haven't said this yet, but it's so funny, Seth, because I know you're writing about what makes us most frustrated or what makes fans everyone most frustrated about the offense. And it was like deep in the list you sent us, and it was Tyquan Thornton. And I thought even that was not a good sign for Connor Inbrey. Just the idea that like you found gold in September, and that also couldn't be sustained or couldn't be further accentuated within the offense or developed. Obviously, we saw a snap count deteriorate, even though per target, Tyquan Thornton was actually very good. And we knew he had a good connection with Patrick Mahomes, even though it was their first time playing together. So I do want to make that point as well. Like, I know I said earlier this morning that there were players that were frustrated with Connor Inbrey. And that happens in the league when teams struggle. And so it's not unlikely that that doesn't happen. But that was the case. And, Connor Inbrey had multiple years. What was it, 3 years as the position coach, I believe. And so, it's unfortunate, but, that was the reality of the situation. As it relates to Matt Nagy, okay, so let's start there. I think Chiefs fans should, I've obviously talked to a few of them. I've texted with some people. You have to consider Matt Nagy a free agent, which means, and I know I said this before, that he's unlikely to return. You have to, until proven otherwise, consider Matt Nagy a free agent who could join another team as a head coach, or maybe as a, senior pass game coordinator, maybe offensive coordinator with somebody else. Like those are, there might be, and I need to make this clear too, like there might be other openings after these wild card games, which could adjust some of the coaching carousel as it is right now. So remove Matt Nagy from the discussion as of now, right? Because there's a real opportunity for him to be a head coach. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to present himself and what he's learned and why he's going to be perhaps the best candidate for various teams. So what we know, at least as of now, what we can infer is the Chiefs will have a new receivers coach. They will most likely have a new offensive coordinator. And there will probably be another change on the coaching staff. And I don't think I can, I told the guys before we started recording, I have not gotten it, it has not come out. It's not been solidified, but I do think another coach has likely been fired. And I know people are going to want to know who that is, and that's fine. I haven't heard. Let's pause here, and then I can give the second bit of information. Go ahead, gentlemen.
I have nothing to add. Nate, the next time I get the ball, I'm throwing a break, my friend. You can get to your other coaching staff thing. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to let Seth go wild about the things that frustrate him. I have nothing to add on this front.
Seth?
Well.
Oh
wow! I really thought he was gonna. I really thought he was gonna dump me there.
No, I know this is crazy to you guys. I do enter the show twice a week with a plan of how the show will probably go.
Yep.
And it never goes that way, but I do have a plan.
Yeah.
Everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth by their two co-hosts, I think is the famous phrase.
I hope Tucker heard what I told you guys before we began the show. So Tucker, let me know if you actually heard it, because then I'll inform you of it. So, okay, good, great. All right, we're on it. All right. Now this is sort of phase 2 of what I've gathered from the coaching carousel so far. Have not heard. And again, I'm trying to interpret this for myself, trying to gather more insight, trying to give you guys the best information I can as it relates to the team that you root for. Has anybody seen Mike Kafka's name today? Anyone? Has anybody seen it? What's Mike Kafka doing? Where is he going? So I would suggest that maybe Because we don't know what's going on with Mike Kafka, I don't know if he's going to be a viable candidate. Why are you shaking your head at me, Seth?
I'm shaking my head at Tucker Franklin.
Oh, what is Tucker doing?
He got me on Twitter. It's a whole deal.
He got you on Twitter. Well, that's about fair.
You finally learned about Chungus, Tucker's sourdough starter?
Yeah, right. You in
the best thing going on social media.
You in the kitchen with them? Oh, that's cute. Man,
what on earth are you guys talking about? What planet are you two on?
I'm just watching TV. Get out of here.
Is there anything else you should be doing?
Yes. Well, no, I'm multitasking. My dad is also leaving me a voice message as we speak because he even wants.
Seth's on Twitter. You're watching TV, and I'm trying to hit the break.
Friends on TV. What do you want me to say? Anyway, my dad probably wants to know who offensive coordinator is right now. I'll call him back after the show. I don't know what's going to happen with Mike Kafka, guys. So the more that people put him out there in a connection to the Chiefs, I haven't seen that. I don't know what's going to be next for him. I don't know how viable that is. Again, this is just me understanding where things are shifting, moving. Again, some people thought Mike McDaniels was going to be safe today. Turns out he was fired. We talked about Cliff Kingsbury. Like, was that something that was known in the coaching circles a week before it happened? Not exactly. But again, these things can change over time. Everybody obviously is very enamored with John Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh is like, I'm gonna make you guys wait for a week. So he is like a tipping point for all of this. Now, some people will say, all right, Nate, cut the bleep. Tell me about Dave Toub. I think, not that I know for sure, but I think Dave Toub is going to remain on the coaching staff, per my understanding as of right now. And then lastly, there was something else. God, there's been a lot going on over the last 48 hours. Mike McDaniel, I know what Tyreek Hill said. That was funny. There's some truth to that, obviously.
Tyreek Hill on Twitter said Mike McDaniel doesn't fit the Chiefs scheme. Someone tweeted about Mike McDaniel to Kansas City, and Tyreek
Yeah.
The comment section is in shambles.
Why? What would I do?
More than usual?
Oh, come on. This second part before we went to the second part is, again, this is as of now. Obviously things could change. I understand people are seeking information. I'm trying my best to inform you guys as best I can. What?
Please keep going.
Okay, with the way you're reacting, I'm just like, I don't know.
It's always the comment section, Nate. I'm always responding and reacting to the comment section. Always. And they are.
Our show must not be very interesting because you guys seem so uninterested in doing it. I can't imagine what it's like to listen to it.
I love you guys all the same. So yeah, if you want a brief summary, I don't know about Mike Kafka, or Mike Kafka's name should have already been ringing off if that was the case. Dave Toub appears to be safe as of now. That's my best estimation at this time. Mike McDaniel likely, and this is understandable, likely wants another head coaching job. Not sure if he and Andy Reid have talked a ton. I know there's a lot of respect between the two. So he would be a surprise as of right now. He would be a surprise, I would say, if Andy Reid and Mike McDaniel got together, talked it out as a possible next offensive coordinator. There's probably something else in my brain and I can't get to it. I'm sorry, guys. There's a lot going on, but that's what I can give you right now.
I'm going to just end this half of the show by reading a nice super chat. First of all, I didn't see this one earlier from Brother Rick asking about Will Shields as offensive line coach. I'd let Will Shields be the quarterback's coach if he asked. I think he's probably, I don't know what he's got going on right now, but a lot of times the all-time players don't come back in position coaching roles. Right. But I like saying Will Shields' name and remembering how great he was.
Could it be the assistant O-line coach?
I literally would let him do whatever he wanted.
You want to be a consultant, offensive line consultant? Go ahead.
This one from Dub Freak Freer said, "Hey guys, want to say thanks for all the coverage, amazing content last year, boys. I hope 2026 is going to be a great one for you all. Big love from the UK." And they sent us they super chatted there with not $20, folks. That's $19.99. That's the Queen's money there. Those are pounds sterling.
Hell yeah.
I obviously appreciate everyone wherever you're watching or listening from, but I do love the international shout outs as they come. Reminder of how far this all reaches. It warms my heart when I'm actively playing defense against my two co-hosts. I like to look to the super chat for encouragement. So thank you for those of you who have done that. Let's take our time out, and we're gonna focus our frustrations outward, and Seth is going to tell us how the Chiefs offense left some meat on the bone this year. We'll talk about that next.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
Hey, what's happening, people? It is Benny Heiss, KCSN betting analyst. And while the Chiefs may not be in the playoffs, that doesn't mean there is not plenty of action to go around for the rest of you that are still crazy fans of the National Football League. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, it makes every playoff moment feel bigger. So whether you're looking at individual matchups in the wild card, or for a possible Super Bowl matchup, or for futures come postseason time, DraftKings has your back, and they also have your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop goes down at any point in the first half, guess what? You can still get paid in cash. What an opportunity. What a way to be able to enjoy the playoffs and not worry about anybody that you include in those props going down, especially early on, and ruining the rest of all of your legs. So here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code KCSN, that is code KCSN, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Remember, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. You must be 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
I've yelled at you guys for reading the comments, but I like to check them out during the break sometimes, and I will say that Sean got a chuckle out of me. He said, "So has no one told Josh about the Queen?"
Queen?
I did say it's the Queen's money. It's always the Queen's money.
Always. Yeah.
Even when it's the King's money. I don't look, man.
Monarchy.
I just wanted to say 99 pounds and 99 pence. I just thought that would be fun.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, you guys are right though. There is some pushback in the old comment section about some of Nate's educated speculation there. Kind of interesting. All right, Seth, let's go ahead and let a little bit of the air out here. You've got a piece en route to the Chief in the North newsletter that is going to be, I think you said 45,000 words. So I'm really excited to read that over the course of many days. I'll try to finish this book before training camp arrives. You had a very long list of frustrations from the 2025 Chiefs season. We chatted about this a little bit earlier. You can kind of define what kind of thing, what type of thing did or didn't make the list, just because there is a range and stuff that you disagreed with versus things that you were confused by. Give us a little bit of the methodology of what is and isn't qualifying for this project, and then we'll dive into the wide receivers.
Sure. So for me, the title is Head Scratchers, the most baffling decisions the Chiefs made in 2025, and there's a number there that I'll come back to in a second. The number of decisions. So for me, this is about walking through not things that I disagree with, right? So like, I would have tried to lock up Trent McDuffie a year earlier than they did. Now, I'm not saying it was possible. And honestly, after how things went with him being more of a full-time boundary corner, he might actually be a tad cheaper now. I still kind of doubt it for a lot of reasons. But
Right.
like that, I would have done. I would have given serious consideration to giving Joe Tooney a 2 or 3 year extension at $20 million a year over giving Trey Smith a 4-year extension or 5-year extension at 25 or whatever million a year. I would have thought about it. And both great players. So it's not to diss anyone. It's just about
and both played well this season. The unfortunate thing is Trey Smith got hurt. Joe Tooney's been a robot.
Yeah.
An absolute robot.
Yeah. And that's where, like, I mean, Bears fans, I
love that dude.
Yeah, I told a few that had asked, and they would be absolutely thrilled with him, and they are, and they've helped their offense run. They've helped Caleb Williams. So that's something I kind of disagree with. That I kind of low key would have done it differently. Glad Trey Smith is still in Kansas City, of course, too. Nick Bolton's contract, we've talked about that. You know, I would have done things kind of differently. I would have, if you had to make a choice there to keep the quarterback of your defense, I would have picked Justin Reed. Like I would have allocated that money elsewhere. That's not what I'm talking about, though. Even things that I strongly disagree with is not really what I'm talking about. Because those things, like if it's something that I can at least explain, I think it's important to be able to like look at where someone's coming from, the reason they did what they did. Josh once told me that the best advice I ever gave him was, I think I was mad at you in the moment, was some version of I was like, why don't you pretend I'm an idiot and I'm not an idiot, and then think about what I mean? Like, and
we've been friends for long enough for those stories to turn into positive ones.
Yes,
which is crazy.
And I do the same thing to people all the time.
Right.
You know, the point there being, we often assume when we disagree with a choice that someone makes, we assume that they only have stupid reasons for doing it. You know, we assume that with all sorts of points of view. The reality is, very few people are out here saying, "How can I make a bad decision today?" They usually have reasons, even if you disagree with the premises or the conclusion that they reach.
Yes.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, I wouldn't have paid Nick Bolton that contract, but I understand why Steve Spagnuolo wanted to, even if I disagree. Okay. So it's just things that made me like, I literally can't understand it. It's baffling. And I can't make a legitimate argument for it. It's the kind of things that, like, when I talk about, Nate will try to take like the team's position just to make me mad. Like those are
I'm here and I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. I'm super excited for it. So those are the things. And I also condensed a few things that were somewhat connected one to the other. And with those caveats, I came up with 18 things. 18 in 2025 that I find baffling. Not even, see, like, if it's stuff like I strongly disagree with, I would say, well, I'd be like, oh, well, that's interesting. Look, when someone from Minnesota tells you something you did is interesting, it's the equivalent gave a presentation to a board full of Japanese people, and they like kind of politely nodded but didn't say much. Dude, they hated your presentation. They just, don't want you to honor kill yourself after the meeting, okay? Like that's Minnesota. Interesting means, good Lord, what's wrong with you?
We've also been friends for long enough for me to have heard Seth tell me that I had an interesting opinion and for me to know exactly what he meant.
Seppuku.
Yeah. Usually interesting means I really strongly disagree. I don't want to fight you on it.
Right.
It can mean worse. In your case, Josh, that's what it meant.
It can mean worse? It can mean worse that I strongly disagree, but I don't want to fight about it?
Hey, Josh, it could always be worse.
It can also be, I'm definitely judging the daylights out of you. So here's
I've assumed that as a baseline.
Yeah. 18. And that's if I combine like the running back room back and Brashard Smith erasure as one thing. if I define Mike Pennell and Derek Nagy as one thing, I still ended up at 18. I could have gotten to 20, which is a nice round number. I'm not sure why I didn't, but it was a lot.
Bonus edition. Deluxe listicle.
Oh, and it was so frustrating. But what I really want to do is write through each and every one of them, list them all out, just write a paragraph about what happened and why it is completely inexplicable to me. And then some of them, I'll have to write about in a little more detail, maybe about like Xavier Worthy's usage in terms of film reviews and that kind of stuff. And then I'm on to 2026. I'm on to off-season content. Yes, some of the lessons that we learn through this, one might even call it an off-season lesson, are important, but I want to stop thinking about it through the lens of why did you do it this. Excuse me. I'm so upset that I'm like having issues. I want to stop asking, why did you do it this way? And get it all listed out in one place and then move on. So right now, I got so mad writing out the headings for all 18 that I stopped writing. I had to take a break. I was so frustrated and upset and just not in a place.
The best part about this, Seth, is he knows this. You have to know that.
No, I don't.
Well, okay. But anyway, whether Andy Reid knows this or not, you had to get up off the keyboard. Meanwhile, this man, for checks notes, 19 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, looked into that camera and said, as everyone as Coffee says, just take off. He never broke in the worst season since he's been the coach of the Chiefs, to where Seth can't even stay on the keyboard. He looked at us dead in our eyes for 19 weeks and never broke character. You know how much of a master you gotta be to not like that's why we love coaching tirades, because at some point you gotta be a human and it's gotta frustrate you, and maybe you gotta leave the keyboard. Maybe you gotta bang on the podium or the lectern.
The reason it's so frustrating for me is because I can't do anything about it. Andy Reid has no right to be mad at a single one of these things.
You don't
because
know
unlike me, he was in a position to do something about it.
But you don't know that he might be a subscriber to the Chiefs of North newsletter. If you don't write this, how will he read it? How are you gonna get the information?
I think that if he were going to be persuaded about these things, it would have happened by now while he watched the games unfold. And that's where it's a frustrating thing. And I just lack the emotional strength right now to sit down. I mean, I got so mad, and then I got sad. And then I was like, this is bad. And so we're just going to get it all out in one place. And I'm just going to, find some kind of coping mechanism. I'm sure those exist. But it was such a frustrating thing just listing them out. I haven't written about them yet. I put it off for 2 nights in a row where I was just like, I don't have it in me.
Oh, I got it, coach.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
But I can talk about it and be fine.
Yeah, let's at least do that for the wide receivers. We'll just see where that leaves us timeline wise, and it ends up being kind of an interesting time to start with that because we know they're going to have a different wide receivers coach there next year. But specifically within the wide receiver room, Seth, what was the most frustrating thing, or how many of those 18 came back to the wide receiver room?
3 things related to the wide receiver room. I'll let you pick if that works.
Sure.
The lack of true man coverage beaters consistently run. Okay, and we talked about that during the season. You can't just run mesh 15 times. Okay, let me rephrase that. You should not just run mesh 15 times. That was one. And related to that is Xavier Worthy's usage. So those are kind of related, but it was just because it was Hollywood Brown too. I didn't really quite want to do that. Right. Xavier Worthy's usage bothered me. I know he was playing hurt, and I understand his spatial awareness near the sideline's not great. So maybe you're like, I can't have him run routes near the sideline.
Oh, come on.
It's just true. It happens, dude.
He has eyes for the ball, not eyes for the sideline.
Yeah. I mean, you got 2 of them there, Zave. But or X, whatever. Sorry.
X, yes.
Yeah. And look, the
I still
guy's
call him Twitter.
Yeah, he's 18 years younger than me, so I don't think he cares what I call him. But like maybe 17. Anyway, so I get it, but like that usage that bothered me. The lack of man coverage beaters that really bothered me, and then the Tyquan Thornton erasure. Those three things are baffling to me because they don't, to me, make sense. Like there's not a rational reason why you would watch Xavier Worthy once or twice a game run some kind of not double move, but a route that required him to cut in more than one direction at an intermediate level, not right at the line of scrimmage where contact bothers you more, not way down the field where his inability to sometimes separate through contact could kind of bother him and his obvious injury would get to him. But the intermediate levels where he won quite a bit in college, you'd see him win like one or two a game. And those are the plays where he'd catch the ball and just be wide open. And every time that happened during the second half of the season, I would be like, oh, I'm going to get so mad watching that replay. And every time I did, every time he's like running like, a post converted into an out, or he's running some kind of, looks like he's going to run a go, but convert to a dig, whatever, right? It just gets wide open. And I'm like, gee, golly, guys, maybe we could do that a couple more times a game. So I'm sorry, I didn't let you pick yet. But those are the things.
So is that the one you want me to pick? Because it seems like that's the one you want me to pick.
Please pick one. I apologize.
No, I want to actually go ahead. I mean, because I wanted to talk about the wide receiver issues in general. And I do think, as you've already begun to illustrate, I think it's hard to talk about how Tyquan Thornton was used without talking about how Xavier Worthy was used, without talking about how Hollywood Brown was used. I mean, in terms of like the three high-end speed guys who can stretch the field, who get used in different ways. Like, I think we said this on Tuesday. Like, I'd like for Xavier Worthy to just get a Hollywood Brown jersey for next year and just see what he looks like doing that. But I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that does make him a fundamentally different football player or not. But I am curious. I think that I was glad that they signed Hollywood Brown the first time. I was glad they signed him the second time. I'm still here kind of thinking like it feels like there was some meat on the bone with Hollywood Brown by the end of his, presumably, the end of his Chiefs tenure. Maybe he ends up back. I don't know. But if you told me that I just could have built the offense out of Tyquan Thornton, deep threat, Xavier Worthy, deep and intermediate, and Rashid Rice, short intermediate, with Travis Kelce being the tight end there, that feels good to me, but I don't think we ever really saw that.
We did not. And that's where like you can really combine those issues there because Tyquan Thornton unlocked an element of this offense that had been missing for multiple years. And it wasn't perfect. Mahomes and him, was always like, they're a tick off here. Kind of revealed some issues Mahomes was having with his feet, with the deep ball. But they were starting to get there and he was trusting him. And the first 7 weeks of the season, you knew at least one big play was coming.
Right.
And that changed the way against the Lions. I remember it was the first time where I was like, they're scared to play. They need to play too high. They need two safeties back there. You unlocked something. You narrowed their options. And it's not like Tyquan Thornton to me, for one, he's good at genuinely opening up downfield. He's not just fast.
Yes, right.
He's able to get through the contact a little bit and open up down the field.
Yep.
He's got a second gear down the field to track the ball, and he tracks the ball pretty well. He's not a contested catch guy generally, but he's like average at it. So he's not terrible, and he tracks the ball well. That goes into a good deep threat, not just a slightly above average one, but a good one. And
it'll come back for it. He'll try to high point it. He won't. He's not just waiting with his hands down at his waist, for the basket.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it blends so well with what Xavier Worthy does well and Travis Kelce does well and can affect defenses. There's a gravity to it. It matters. And then Worthy gets healthy, and Rice comes back, and you just do not see the guy anymore. And then when he does finally return in more snap count, he's still not a major part of the actual scheme. And I mean, it drove me nuts. I don't even remember which game it was at this point because all the crap just kind of blended together.
I have two examples, but go ahead.
I would love to hear him because I don't even remember which games it was where the offense hasn't done jack squat all game. And then as the game's almost out of hand, one deep ball down the middle of the field to Thornton changes everything. Or one pass interference down the field to Thornton changes everything.
You're thinking, the one deep pass that changes everything, late in the game was against Philadelphia, right? They were down 10. He took multiple deep shots, got open, touchdown was one of them. Again, on a contested ball, you could argue. The two plays to me where it was evident that he should have been on the field more, to your point, Seth, and in addition, Josh, why, why? The coaching staff got really narrow-minded in, hey, we might not have tackles. Jawan Taylor might be out. Josh Simmons might be out. I'm getting towards the end of the season, kids. We don't have a running game to speak of for explosiveness. They tried one deep ball, and this is back-to-back games, kids. They tried one deep ball to Tyquan Thornton on play action, I believe, against the Houston Texans, where if Tyquan catches it, it's a touchdown. Never see him run another deep route the entire game, even though he was open in the end zone and Mahomes put it on him for unfortunate reasons. He could not catch the ball through that contact, right? Even though it was a perfect pass. They don't throw it deep to him for the rest of the game. And we all know that Kareem Hunt drops the ball. Rashid Rice drops the ball. Travis Kelce drops the ball. You don't see another Tyquan Thornton target of real consequence. The following week, they play the Los Angeles Chargers. We all know that's the game where Patrick Mahomes suffers his season-ending knee injury. But early in the game, he gets open again on like a skinny post kind of route. I don't know if you remember this, Seth. And the DB is so terrified. I can't remember who it was. The DB was so terrified that he basically hugged Tyquan Thornton, and it should have been pass interference. It wasn't called. Even Kevin Harlan's like, you can't do that. But hey, the refs missed one. He did not run another deep route to be targeted, even though he was open and they didn't get the pass interference call. They just didn't use him as much as they could have, given that those are just two examples where the protection held up. Your quarterback did have time, and he delivered the ball in an accurate manner for either the reception or the pass interference to occur.
So I guess, Seth, with that in mind, and we might just end up talking about the wide receivers here today. I don't know. We're going to have to tell you, we got plenty of offseason. So with that in mind, obviously, Tyquan Thornton's future is TBD. We'll just see what happens with Rashid Rice's offseason. Touch on that at the top. But if you are looking at, and in Hollywood, free agent. So if you are looking at the wide receiver room right now, they're going to have a different position coach, and Xavier Worthy is going to be there. And Rashid Rice is under contract for next year. But other than that, I mean, this is Jalen Royals is not your wide receiver 3. Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent after this, now, I guess, started the new league year. So what is the lesson to learn if you're going to take that frustration and point it forward? And maybe that's a place where you can also talk a little bit about the man-beating mesh problem, because they are obviously going to have a different coach, multiple different receivers. I would imagine a little bit of a different strategy in some form or fashion. How do you look ahead at the receiver room?
I think a lesson you take from that, for one, is when you find someone with a viable skill set, you let them utilize it. It kind of goes to the system being kind of predominant, but also like it is weird how like something will happen with Thornton and then suddenly you don't see him again for forever. But other guys might get a drop or might get whatever, and they don't, and they just remain part of the game plan consistently. Having guys do the things that they're good at matters more than having guys that you quote unquote trust in certain aspects. And so I think the deep ball thing being an issue, we have ascribed it to a lack of talent for 3 years. And, Worthy isn't quite in the deep ball stuff with him. Even with Worthy, though, it makes me rethink what it looked like in 2024 when Worthy was healthy and some of the deep ball stuff misfired. Some of that was on Worthy, for sure. Mahomes missed a few of them. But, now it's just this offense does not seem to know how to utilize a downfield passing attack right now. And that's something they got to figure out, because the man was getting open down the field. And right. Xavier Worthy was getting open down the field in 2024. So we got to figure this out, because a downfield, and people talk about two safeties and shells and that kind of stuff. Look, the Dolphins were able to throw the ball down the field to Tyreek and to Jalen Waddle for years. Now, not constantly, eventually they had to whatever, but they were still able to attack them intermediate at least. So that stuff, there's got to be other answers here that you need to be able to find. Like, you can attack quarters. There's gaps still back there, provided you put those guys in stress by having certain route combinations. So that's the lesson to me, is you got to utilize that and figure out why that is not consistently part of something, because it wasn't a talent issue this last year. They had a guy who could do it.
It puts it in a fascinating spot, Nate, because we spend so much time talking about the talent of that group, and rightfully so. It is so important in the modern NFL to have pass catchers who can win on their own, or to at least have guys who can execute the stuff that wins with scheme. And like the way we have talked about now Chiefs receivers who have moved on to other places, most of them I think in San Francisco at this point, not literally, but it feels that way at times, doesn't it? A lot of times you look at those guys and they move on, and McCole Hardman isn't having a terribly illustrious second act. Sky Moore is better on special teams in San Francisco than he ever was here. Demarcus Robinson did continue to have a nice career across a couple of stops after the fact. But I find it to be probably the most fascinating individual position group going into 2026, with the combination of Andy looked at the coaching staff and he said, all right, we don't have the right guy leading this room. I think Brett Veach is going to look at the room and realize, okay, well, we're going to have to make some more investments and some changes here, but there is more talent. There was talent this year in a way that we haven't always been able to capitalize on. I'm just kind of curious on perhaps your final thoughts on the wide receiver room, and then we'll talk a bunch of defense and maybe pick up a couple offensive things again on Tuesday. But I think the receiver room is worthy of that. No pun intended. I think the receiver room is worthy of that conversation.
It is. And you also have to keep in mind, too, that like this decision-making will have to be with the backdrop of, is Travis Kelce coming back next year?
Yeah.
Because at least you could tell yourself, if Travis Kelce comes back, we can at least pencil in 800, 900 yards of production from the tight end position that can help alleviate some of the other pass catchers, right? That's always sort of been the case. At least this is how it was built out. So if it's the week of the draft or free agency, I know Travis says he wants to make a decision before free agency starts. So let's say hopefully by the start of free agency, you either know if Travis Kelce's back or not. That will impact all of this decision making. Okay. And this is fascinating because I think there's a quote from Matt Nagy in his last presser, obviously a week ago, who really gave a lot of high praise to Xavier Worthy. And it sort of jumped out to me because it was like, now given the information that we know, whoever that receiving coach is, until other things develop, what can you do to make this guy more special? What can you do to get the most out of his skill set, his talent? As Seth said earlier, he has the ability to run the route tree, the full route tree. We know he's extremely tough for his size. Mm-hmm. Yes, we understand he played through multiple injuries. So, like, how are you going to get him, if given a healthy season next year, to really maximize what he could do in the offense? And I know neither one of us has said this yet, but this is something that has gone and been talked in circles around the league when it comes to the Chiefs. We don't know if Tyreek Hill's walking out that door, but if that even happens, that ain't the Tyreek Hill from 2021 and 2022. Hopefully you retain Tyquan Thornton and you give him slightly a bigger role, more reps, more snaps. Hey, you have Xavier Worthy. As of now, they have Rashid Rice, who would be entering a contract year of great significance. They will likely draft either a receiver or a tight end. We can probably estimate that, in April. So we all know this. But the rest of the league is looking at Andy Reid and saying, come on now. Come on. Tyquan Thornton can't be your tallest receiver. Will they identify and prioritize adding a receiver to the room who as an option of beating man coverage, can actually use their size in man-to-man matchups. And that is something that I've heard for about a month now of like, Hollywood Brown, that's cool. Xavier Worthy, we get it. That's Andy Reid. Okay, Rashid Rice is like your biggest receiver. Tyquan Thornton's your tallest receiver. But there are other options for a receiver to catch the football with some size, with some possession ability. It'd be amazing if they could just go in a lab and create Mike Evans. Be amazing. But like in the Mahomes era, they have not had a receiver who has the makeup, the size, the framework, the ball skills of Mike Evans. And so a number of people around the league are just wondering, like, the offense can get better if you have more diversity at the receiver skill spot compared to what they've shown in recent years.
That's going to make for a fascinating free agency, a fascinating draft, and something we'll, I'm sure, continue to discuss as we go. So we're over an hour here. I feel like we have delivered the bare minimum, at least, of what we are required to do. No, we've gone above and beyond.
Oh
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I feel like the second half of the show is better than the first half. I don't know. It's been disappointing.
Hey, we gave substantive news, I thought.
That's true.
Maybe
the comment section
present
hated it,
the
but
way
you did give news.
Yeah, maybe we didn't present it as buttoned up as we should, and I apologize, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, we are at the point of the off season now where we only have 3 real rundown topics every show now, and we only got through 2 of them. So I think that's really where my eye catches, and I go, that's the off season. We gave you an hour of only weird games. We're going to give you more on Tuesday. We'll talk more about the frustrations, as Seth writes about that in the Chief of the North newsletter. Plus, probably have some news of some sort in the next several days. So keep an eye across KCSN. You'll have the breaking news as soon as it occurs, if it does. And then we'll be back to talk about it all on Tuesday as things continue to unfold. So Nate, send us into the weekend. Time's yours, as they say.
All right. I've thought about this. I thought about this long and hard, okay? Guys, we're going to miss him. Child, we going to miss him. Oh! The next 3 weeks are going to be criminal. Because, guys, for 7 seasons, you can count on this man to do glorifying things on a football field. He could levitate. He could scramble around against the best DVOA defense we've ever seen and just knife them continuously for 60 minutes, right? Hey, man, where are you going? I threw the football to you. It's overtime of the Super Bowl. Where are you going? Why are you running backwards? Okay. I'll throw. You know what? It's second and wherever. I'll throw it to him again because you know why? Because I'm God's gift to quarterbacking. We are going to really miss watching Patrick Mahomes when the season's on the line. And I'm not sure Chiefs fans really understand that. We're all about to sit down and watch Trevor Lawrence try to figure it out. Hey, I'm really fascinated to see, okay, how does Drake May look in the first career playoffs in Foxborough, all right? We're counting on Aaron bleeping Rodgers to do something of interest on Monday Night Football. Please check in, ESPN, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Hey, we need the viewership, baby. I know it's the Texans. They got a really good defense. Hey, CJ, can you do something? Do something, dog. Get the juices pumping. Guys, he used to take the ball, run an RPO, and for the first time all season became a demon running the football. And the Buffalo Bills had no answers. I just don't think people understand that watching Patrick Mahomes with the season on the line, I miss him already. Because, hey, I got turf toe. I got no offensive line. I got no receivers catching the football. Damn it, I'll levitate, parallel myself to the ground, and still throw a dime. What? We won't have that this year, guys. We won't have him screaming at Eric Bieniemy, "Get out of my face!" And Eric Bieniemy saying, "Please go to the X-ray room. Please go to the X-ray room." No. Him screaming obscenities at everyone and then going right back on the field and leading them right down a touchdown drive. You're going to miss it. I hope people recognize that. These next 3 weeks, the wild card, divisional round, and conference championship. Oh boy. There's only one guy who could do something similar. There's only one.
Phillip Rivers didn't make the playoffs, Nate. I hate to tell you.
You're always a couple seconds faster to the joke than me.